Yes? Okay. This is the monthly meeting of the Woodbridge Board of Finance, the regular monthly meeting, not to be confused with the budget meetings that are upcoming. It's Thursday, January 19th, and Happy New Year. So the first item on our agenda is public comments. Any public comments? Okay. I would just like to address something that's been in the newspapers, as you saw. I expressed some concern in the newspapers about the fact the Christmas tree at the gateway of Woodbridge, as I call it, wasn't lit this year, and I learned something. I attempted to write the letter as an individual. I never mentioned the Board of Finance, but that didn't work. It ended up being a Board of Finance matter, so I just want to address it. I also learned that I submitted it to the local papers, that being the Bulletin and the Woodbridge Town News, and the New Haven Register owns the Bulletin, so for whatever reason, without my permission, they published it in the New Haven Register, and I would have preferred it not, and if they had asked me, I would have told them not to. I wanted it to be in the local papers. In any event, obviously, I don't know how many of you saw the response from the Woodbridge Fire Department. It was rather massive. It was rather mean-spirited, I think, but that's okay. You know, you write a letter and you get what you get. What I'd like to say is that I attempted to find out what happened to the tree, and I couldn't really get good, solid answers. I'm going to address the reason that we were told, and that is a purchase order which wasn't approved. But beyond that, the fire department was offended by my letter, and unfortunately the person who wrote the letter in response didn't put his name on it. It was in the name of the Woodbridge Volunteer Fire Department. I think we know who wrote the letter, and it's regrettable in my opinion. I never in my remarks intended to offend the firefighters. The insinuation in the response letter was that I disparaged them. Anybody in this town, everybody in this town knows what the firefighters do. They put their lives on the line. They do a fantastic job. Not to digress, but they had a campaign for this Chloe. They put a skim on the truck, and the girl beat cancer. It was a wonderful event on their part. I got to speak to Sean Rowland today for quite a while, and I think we aired out a lot of things. The one thing I think we clearly decided was that this won't happen again. The lighting of the tree will have to be guaranteed, and whatever it takes. And if that takes the fire department, the town, in conjunction with the fire department of the town, the tree will be lit in the future without any controversy. So, but let me let Sandy get in here.
Sorry.
That's okay. Where I think there was a disconnect was there was a purchase order issued to the Woodbridge Fire Department for $600 to buy the lights for the tree. Tony signed it, and signed others, and they went, and unfortunately they got derailed. They got put on the first selectman's desk and never got approved. Unfortunately, in the process of waiting for the one purchase order, nothing got done. And when I spoke to Sean today, I said, for $600, I'm sure if you went to Tony and asked him, he could have pushed it along. We provide $800,000 for the fire department, so $600 should not have stopped the process. The process of not spending the money unless the purchase order is approved is the right way to do it, but quite frankly, it doesn't always happen that way. But I'm not going to get into all that. There's no sense at this point. So in the future, I believe we're going to work and make sure that the tree gets lit. It's at the gateway, as far as I'm concerned, of Woodbridge. It's as you drive in, it's there. We also light a menorah, which I think is entirely appropriate. So again, I had a long talk with Sean, and I think we cleared the air on a lot of things. And again, all I want to say is that in no way that I intend to insult the firefighters. Anybody in their right mind knows what they do. And if they were offended, I apologize. And at that, I'll leave it. If anybody else has a comment.
Well, maybe even, the town should consider it not being solely the fire department. I think it's the town decorations. A lot of other municipality, we have very, I think, competent and capable between public works, parks, maintenance. We could get that done, done early enough before trucks are outfitted with plows and sanders or whatever, and the fertilizing is done. I mean, I think our town center is like a New England postcard. I mean, I think that having that decorated, we don't have a lot of places to decorate.
Yep.
Just having those wreaths on there, it just looks stunning and beautiful. And I'm very conscious of the townspeople's money. If we don't have it, in fact, if we didn't even have a decorating budget, I'd be happy to spearhead a decorating campaign for the town. I think it's lovely, and I too. I mean, we all appreciate what the firefighters do. So I think they all work well together, I would assume, but between all the departments, I think we could get it done, and maybe it's just not all the firefighters. I mean, I have a 40-foot tree in my yard with 7,500 lights on it. My landscaper and his wife did it. They just have I think we went to Home Depot and they got a lift. So, I'm not up there, but those two did it in a day. So I think we could easily do that. But I'm glad you're working with
Yeah, like I said,
Sean
I think Sean and I came to an agreement, and I think next year when the time comes, I'll reach out to whoever I have to reach out to. I think this is something we got to start talking about in September, not in November or the beginning of December. So, but like I said, I think we cleared the air. So, anything else?
No, I thought your letter was appropriate, and I'm very happy that you and Sean had an opportunity to talk. And I think that we should move on, and next year we should make sure that come Thanksgiving holiday season that it gets done, so we don't even have to have a discussion like this.
And perhaps we can have a little party out there, like we do it so many times.
I'm always ready to party.
Hot chocolate. I mean, well, a community event like we do for Memorial Day or we do for whatever. Yeah, I think it's we could turn it into something positive. So, okay, Tony.
The monthly report for the half of the fiscal year is over. The budgetary surplus is at $260,000 for the end of the year, and that leaves our fund balance at about 10% of the annual projected expenditures. What I do want to comment is that in our audit process this year, which I'll get into in a little bit, the $400,000 that we typically have in our unallocated fund balance has been reassigned to our assigned fund balance. If you remember our discussion from our last meeting, that simply means that the $400,000 is now in a assigned fund balance, which means that it's a fund balance that we have earmarked or planned for some other use. So as a result, the percentage went down a little, but we still have the same amount of money. It's just a classification issue. And I always track the unassigned, unallocated fund balance because that's the most conservative way to do it. But a lot of agencies use the assigned fund balance, which includes purchase orders and would include this $400,000, because the idea is that you're in control of your purchase orders. So if you should need funds in a hurry, you can certainly cancel orders or cancel projects and reassign funds. So just want to make that comment. In our revenue section, we do have a surplus of a little over $18,000. It went down from the previous month because the state cut our ECS funding by $67,000. You probably read that in the papers. So that reduced our surplus that we had projected for that account.
Tony, is the ECS grant strictly for Beecher or both?
It's for both Beecher and Amity. Yeah.
Okay.
And it's education cost sharing for those who doesn't know what that means. And that's just, I think, a sign of things to come. You probably also read about how the state has stopped funding LoSIP. And we had, of course, all of our LoSiP reimbursements in, so it did not affect Woodbridge. And we were up to date on all of our paperwork. But some towns were not, and so they had received some cuts in their LoSiP funding, and some which were quite significant.
Tony, what is LoSiP?
LoSiP is Local Capital Improvement Program, and we use it every year as part of our paving program. So we receive about $65,000 a year in LoSiP funds, and we immediately apply it towards our paving program, and it's a simple process. You can use it for a lot of other local capital improvement, as it indicates, sidewalks, drainage. Some towns use it for beach improvements. So some towns got caught with not having some of their paperwork in on time, and I think that's a sign of things to come in terms of what this year's budget process is going to hold, and where we may find some reductions in state aid. And lastly, we have the surplus from the sale of the golf equipment. That's $70,000. And expenditures, we have so far a surplus in liability and auto and property insurance, about $10,000 there. Our assessor's office has a surplus due to a vacant position. We have a part-time position in there currently, in transition. The Parks Department should experience a surplus of $30,000 because we eliminated the Parks Foreman position in our reorganization of Public Works. So that was halfway through the year, so that's normally a savings of $60,000 to $80,000 in the budget, but because of the timing of the elimination of the position. There is also a surplus of debt service of $120,000. That's because of the issuance of the timing of the issuance of the remaining debt on the Beecher project, and it's taken a little longer to complete the project. Although I hear we are now complete, and we should have a building committee meeting shortly to resolve that. It's the we had to sort of estimate when we thought the project would finish so that we can have our first interest payment for the last installment of the debt service on the project. But because of the delay, it simply pushes that out into the following year, and therefore this year we have a surplus.
What potentially could we lose from the state additionally? Oh, that's a fair question for you at this point.
I could tell you that we receive approximately $1.2 million in formulary grants from the state, and it's mostly ECS.
And those are paid to us
Town Aid Road.
monthly,
They're
annually?
paid. They each have different schedules. Because we don't receive a lot, we're not reliant on the cash flow from those grants.
Mm-hmm.
Like maybe New Haven or some of the bigger towns receive a lot of ECS money, and they're very reliant on that cash flow. It's paid. They're various. ECS is paid. There's a portion of it in the first 6 months, and then we get a second installment in like March, and then there's a third installment in June, I think.
And you anticipate some of that being cut?
Probably, yeah.
Yeah.
I would guess. I'm not sure about. I really don't know. I mean, it's anything is possible.
Yeah.
We'll just have to wait and see.
Okay.
There are other issues that we have to face. There are two other issues with the budget. While we're just discussing it, there's a spending cap that was introduced in last year's legislature, which will not impact us, I don't think, so much. But there's a spending cap that we have to be mindful of. And the third thing is the continual reduction of the auto mill rate to 32 mills, which then drives up the property tax mill rate for real estate. Because if you remember, it was fixed to 37, and now it's supposed to be fixed to 32, which then will. So those are all things to. Well, stay tuned.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Rational but not practical.
Should we anticipate that in future years the mill rate for auto will
I think that's the idea. I believe that's the idea. Although I'm not sure, given the changes that have happened, what the future of that will be. But that was its original idea, was to bring
put
that.
pressure on our property taxes.
Yeah. More equalize the auto
Right.
taxes paid by individuals across the towns.
Any other questions? Tony, the audit?
The audit was completed on time. It was a clean audit with no management comments. In front of you, you have you should have the report to the Board of Finance, which in Woodbridge, the Board of Finance is the audit committee. In some towns, there's a separate audit committee. But in Woodbridge, the Board of Finance is the audit committee. So their board report to the Board of Finance just has in it the some agreements, some accounting policies that we have, some journal entries that they had to do, which is mainly to convert from budget to GAAP, which is how a lot of them are reported. So that's in your report to the Board of Finance. If there were comments for you, that would be in this report. Secondly is the federal and state financial compliance reports. This is a report that we send out to the state, which is all of the grants that we received, and those are audited for compliance by our auditors. And then lastly, the comprehensive annual financial report. Scott will be here. When is he coming? The 26th, the 31st?
Next Thursday, I think.
No, the 26th.
26th, yeah. So Scott Bassett, our auditor, will be here on the 26th to go through the audit and to answer any questions you may have. Just to highlight for you if you read the letter that I do in the front, it's sort of a historical snapshot of some of the major projects that we worked on this year, and then the financial section has the management and discussion and analysis, which is an in-depth discussion on the financials themselves, which I put together, and then the financials will follow. So our fund balance, unassigned fund balance, is almost $4.9 million. Our assigned fund balance is $1.4 million. So we have a total general fund balance of a little under $6.4 million. So I think that's a healthy fund balance for a town our size. I don't know if there are any questions, or you want to wait until Scott comes?
Yeah, we'll wait till Scott comes, unless somebody has a question.
This is on our website for anyone who wants to get a copy of it. Right, this is on our website, right?
Okay. Reminder, meetings next Tuesday, Thursday, and the following Tuesday, and hopefully we won't need a fourth, Karen, right?
We're holding that one in case we have.
Last year was because of weather, but I can tell you they're talking about a lot of rain for Monday, Tuesday, so it's not, looks like the upcoming weather, at least for next week, is not conducive to us being canceled, so.
Right.
Anything else, Tony?
Or snow.
Or snow, right?
Yeah, we have an issue with our boiler at the center building. It's a steam boiler and has
It's
a
your
crack.
boiler, not our boiler.
What's that?
It's your boiler, not
Yeah.
ours.
So we have two boilers at the center. There's there's a redundancy there. So one is down, the other one is still working fine. But there's steam, so we're evaluating the cost of a replacement boiler for the center building. And it's all of the areas of the center building except for the police department, which has a separate service. And so there's the replacement of like for like, or to upgrade to a hot water, much more efficient hot water system. So we'll evaluate those two options and then present our findings.
It's worth the value. It's worth the looking at the upgrade and finding out what the ROI is going to be.
Right. Right.
Steam is not really efficient these days.
Do they even do steam? Do they even do steam anymore? No.
But we can convert to gas, right?
Well, it's gas.
Converted to
It's already converted to gas, but it's heated with steam.
Boilers were converted to gas.
Yeah. So I just thought I'd mention that. It's something very recent that happened.
Okay.
That's
I skipped over Board of Ed financial report. Sandy, you're going to talk about that?
I will.
Okay. So, funding requests. We have three. The first is something we talked about. The police department needed their phones were in a critical state, and they put it in for next year's budget, and I don't think the police should be operating with phones that don't work, so we decided to move it up and take it out of our contingency fund this year. So that's what this is. Again, we discussed this. And is this ready to go, Tony, once we...
Yep. As soon as you approve it tomorrow morning, he'll
Okay.
issue the purchase order, and we will start that process.
Okay, so I'll move acceptance Request for funding 1617-05 in the amount of 15,528.
Second.
Any discussion on that?
So I do have a question about the decision to not go with voice over IP
Mm-hmm.
and kind of making that change.
Right.
I know it's more expensive to do that.
Right.
But since they have to change their phone system, shouldn't they really kind of upgrade what they're doing?
So as it is explained to me, and we went through this, was a good question. I think he mentioned in here, it was the two issues that he in the police department felt strongly about was not only the expense of going to voice over IP, which would be more,
Right.
but that this particular system was in their perception more reliable in terms of connections, and they felt that was important for their service and for their operation.
Anything else? Okay, all those in favor? Aye?
Aye.
Okay. Next is a request for funding from our contingency fund for $13,195. This is to replace equipment to the fire department that was damaged during the fighting of the JCC fire, and I believe it's here. Let's see, it's four gas meters. Is that the?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And required accessories and a thermal imaging camera for $79.95. So I'll move acceptance of request for funding 161706 in the amount of $13,195.
I'll second.
Any discussion on this?
Is there a reason that we wouldn't ask them to try to cover this within their current budget first?
That's my question. It's only 6 times
I mean, you know their budget much
I
better.
think they have some other challenges they're trying to work through,
Okay.
and I think that's probably not going to be something we're confident they can do at this point.
But should they try with this and then see
They
how
could.
that goes, and then come back to us if they're out of money? and
Well, we
can't
did that. I
line
think we did
item
that last year, where,
Yeah.
where we basically we told them,
Well,
yeah, fund it through your budget, and then we'll worry about it at the end of the year, because we'll have contingency left at the end of the year for sure.
So, would you like me
I don't know.
to try and do that,
I
or
don't know what's this.
if you want
Sense.
to, I can certainly work with them to try to do as much as I can, and then take the balance. If you want to give me that
If you have
authority.
authority, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
How's that?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
Let's do that.
Okay.
So you
I will
want to
do that.
table this, or
No,
No.
just disapprove it, or?
no. Let Tony work within the budget, take as much as he can out of the.
All right, so then we have to
Then
disapprove it.
whatever else he has to, then
Do you want an amendment then to this?
Well, no, we're gonna. Oh, yeah, I vote. Yeah, I voted in favor, so we just vote it down.
Why would we vote it down?
Well, because you're not funding it.
Were you just changing? Well,
Well,
would you just
we
change the
might have
lines?
we might have to fund some of it.
Yeah. Well, I know we don't know the
We're
amounts though
basically
yet.
not funding it totally from contingency.
Yeah, not gonna fund a totally from contingency, right?
We're basically approving that they need to do this. We want them to try to find some money
Yeah.
within their own budget.
Yeah. The thermal imaging camera would be a capital expense.
Right.
And so I would pay for that out of the capital budget. That's more of a larger piece of equipment that has a long life, relatively long life to it, as opposed to the meters, which are an operating cost. So as you'll see in here, they're split. So I can certainly pay for the meters out of the operating budget, and then just use contingency for the capital budget. Does that work?
So you want to modify this?
Yeah.
Yes.
Just modify it that way,
Yep.
and I'll split the two.
Well, then we have to vote this down, and then have another motion to modify it. Correct?
Okay.
All right.
That's fine.
So we have a motion, we have a second. All those in favor? Opposed? Okay. So now we're gonna, what is the amount, Tony, you want to,
The contingency amount is 7995.
okay.
Right.
7,995. Okay, so I'll make a motion that we amend or modify request for funding 1617-06 and make the amount instead $7,995.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, any discussion on that? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
And then we'll pay for the meters out of their budget, and
Right.
should they have a problem,
And
we'll
again,
let
I
you
think,
know.
yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
let's let them know.
Okay.
We obviously recognize this, but,
Okay.
okay. And finally, we have another request for funding, 161707 in the amount of $6,000, and this is for the country club to repair the HVA system as well as emergency pump repairs. So I'll move acceptance of request for funding 161707 in the amount of $6,000.
Second.
Okay, Tony, go ahead.
So there's some, we had to perform some repairs to the HVAC system, including the, some to the computerized portion of the system and some other areas of the system that were causing the system to not operate properly, as well as some pump repairs, some water pump repairs that service the water system.
Why are we making any repairs?
Because the heat in the hot water, I mean, the heat has to work in order to keep the building at a certain temperature so that the fire sprinkler system, the wet portion of the system anyway, which is in the bottom floor, doesn't freeze.
Yeah.
I see.
So we have to maintain at least 50,
So you have to maintain
55,
that
50
portion
degrees
of
in
it.
there, 50 degrees in that.
Yeah, it's not even, it's like 40, I think 45, 50, yeah, is all that it is. It's not very much, but
Okay,
in
that
order to
helps.
do that,
But it's mainly for the sprinkler system.
right, it's, yeah.
Anything else? Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Now, there's also, isn't there a part of the sprinkler system that failed?
There was the dry portion of the system, which is the top floor, the roof, and the pro shop, as I understand it,
And probably the kitchen.
and the snack shop portion.
Right.
Yeah,
Kitchen, you know, where they,
Yeah.
where they're cooking for
Where they cook, right.
Chemical, yeah. That's
yeah.
right.
So that's the dry system. The other wet portion is the system, which we were talking about, is the locker rooms, the hallway, and all the buildings off that hall, the rooms off that hallway. We had it. We had our sprinklers, the dry portion, tested, and as I understand it, there was some corrosion in the pipes, and so it failed that test because if the system was to activate, the corrosion that exists could block or cause the sprinkler heads not to operate, because it could get stuck, and the water can not flow properly.
So what happens if we,
So we're currently evaluating whether, first of all, in order to flush the system and to fix it, one price we had was close to about $50,000. We would of course get additional pricing, but that's sort of a ballpark about how much it could possibly cost to flush the system and then fix the corrosion, and then. So we're currently evaluating with the fire marshal as to whether you need to have that operational in order to use the wet portion where the wet system is, which is the hallway and the locker rooms, which is what the pool uses. As Andy indicated, the grill room is not is serviced by the dry system, so I don't know if there's a way to sort of extend the wet system into there, or just not. These are all decisions the board is selecting us to make as to whether to spend the money or not spend the money, or not use the building at all, or.
okay,
So
work
it
out.
continues to
Alright.
work good. All right.
Okay.
So we'll have more information on that. Yeah.
Okay, number 4 is approval of minutes. I'll move acceptance of to approve the minutes of the regular Board of Finance meeting from December 15th, 2016.
Second?
Any corrections, adjustments, etc.? Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Karen, you're abstaining.
Okay.
Okay, liaison reports. Actually, Amity, we did have a meeting, I don't know, 2 or 3 weeks ago. Nothing earth-shattering at that meeting other than discussion of the budget. And one thing that we did discuss and is becoming a bit contentious is the Amity Finance Committee bylaw, which I think I've mentioned to you before. For some reason, they're intent on changing it, eliminating. I don't know. I think there's people up there who don't remember what happened, and I get the feeling they want to basically eliminate the finance committee, which if they did that would be an astronomical mistake. And I've indicated that. I don't speak to the board, but I speak to the 3 board members who sit on the finance committee, and to the superintendent and to the chairman who usually attends our meetings, and I told them that that would be a huge mistake, and the people who are proposing it really don't remember what happened, and to have that come out, that they're going to eliminate the finance committee would be, I think, a huge mistake. So I guess after I left, at the regular board meeting, they had a long blowout discussion, and they wanted to change a word. They ended up suspending it's bizarre. Something about that we can call the department heads to come to the meeting, and it's the word shall or may, and it was this long discussion from what I understand. But I wrote the superintendent, I wrote the chairman of the board, and I wrote the chairman of the finance committee and said, leave it alone. It works.
It's been working.
Right. It worked. People are happy with it. We don't vote. We don't have a vote. We can't change a thing. It's strictly advisory on our part. We make a recommendation to the full board, and the full board decides. But there's a few people on there who really are intent on, I think, they want to get rid of it. And if they do, they'll make the biggest mistake that they've ever made. And they'll they don't remember how many rejected?
15.
Yeah. Right. So I hope, I'll address this again at the budget hearing.
So I have
Monday.
a question. Could we request that whichever first selectman from our 3 towns would be willing to make a public statement about this, that they lend their weight to retaining the finance committee and the role, and it has been a very productive relationship, and I think that it really creates some transparency and better understanding for each of the respective towns by doing that. And I do think that having Ellen write a letter, Derry, I don't know if Jim would be willing to do it, but I think it serves a purpose.
Oh, I think
and they
he
should
would.
go on record.
Yeah, Ellen actually was there. I wasn't at the Board of Ed meeting. I leave after the finance.
Yeah.
But Ellen was there because I heard her report in her liaison report that she was there for all this discussion. So I got to talk to her if she just heard it or if she realized the impact of what they're talking about. So, but she did report it on her liaison report of the Board of Selectmen. I saw it on TV. So, so on Monday we're having our first crack at the budget. They're going to present the budget to us, and one of the I'm going to look at the whole thing, but one of the items which could be an issue is the SRO over there. Why don't you, Tony? Why don't you just run by how it works now? We provide the officer.
So we provide the officer, and back when I first started back in 2001, 2002. I met with the acting superintendent, and we came up with and the finance director, and we came up with a formula that we all agreed to, which basically said that Amity would pay out of its budget a portion of the total expenditures involved with having an SRO. That just includes salary, but all the various degree pay and health insurance and everything related to that. And they paid a portion of it. It was easy that way because then all 3 towns funded it through the Amity budget. Back maybe a few years later, it was removed from the Amity budget, if you remember.
Yep.
So I had to then bill the 2 towns their proportionate share. So I take the total expenditures and I use the same formula and then bill each town based on their average daily membership from the budget of that year. And Orange pays the full amount and Bethany does not.
Meaning they don't pay the bill?
They pay half the bill.
Yep. They refuse to pay I don't think they should have to pay benefits and all this stuff.
Well, who should have to pay that?
Right, well, we have.
Because
We've been
I know
picking
what
up
I'm
that
saying
share.
is-
Yeah, right.
Let me ask you a question.
Absolutely
They have
right.
security at the high school?
They have security
paid
guards.
security?
They have security guards, yes.
How many paid security guards do they have?
At least, I think 3. They can't carry guns, but
No.
they roam around, and there's a lot of people who would prefer that the,
Their my understanding is one is an ex-police chief, or
Yeah.
ex-policeman.
yeah, yeah. A lot of people,
they have
a
radios
lot of
and
people
they
who
have
drive
guns,
up to
so
the
what?
school and see the police car parked out front don't like it, so there's a lot of people who feel that, we should eliminate the position anyway. And I'll be quite frank, and I'm going to say this on Monday, that because I'm hearing grumbling that Orange now is starting to say, well, why do we have to pay the full boat if Bethany's not paying the full boat?
Well, of course.
Right.
Of
Now,
course.
again, this was under Ed Sheehy. I remember Ed saying, well, we're going to have them over there, so if Bethany doesn't pay their share, we'll pay that share, which we are. obviously.
Yeah.
So if Orange starts balking now and says, oh, we don't, well, then I'll tell you right now, I'm going to bring this up
Well, eliminate the position.
when the police come in. I think they're coming in Tuesday. I'm going to bring this up because, the police department has experienced a personnel shortage. And having this person at the high school, and we also need to, I think, have a discussion about the SRO at Beecher. We're the only school in the Amity district, elementary school, that has a full-time SRO there too. So I think it's something we have to discuss because it'll solve problems for the police department. And but that'll be a discussion for Tuesday when they come in. But I plan on discussing this about. I'm going to see if they would be willing to put this into their budget, which they won't.
That would solve the problem.
That would solve the problem entirely. Then everybody would have to pay
Everyone
their
pays,
fair share,
right.
but they'll never do it. But in the same regard, if they don't, and things develop the way I'm hearing they might, then we're going to have to really have a solid discussion about just eliminating the position, pulling the officer out of there, putting him back on the road for the police department, and solving that problem.
At least in part.
I mean, to Andy's point though, I think the security officers are not the same as what the resource officer is doing in terms of the relationship building that he really tries to do with the kids. It's a different function, and I'm not
I
advocating
get
one
it.
way or the other.
I'm just saying, look, if everybody pays their fair share, I'm happy to support it.
Right.
But if they're going to say, dump it on Woodbridge because they have deep pockets, I'm not going to support it.
Yeah.
That's what it comes down to.
Yeah.
Because it's not right, it's not fair. Because their children and Bethany's children are getting the same benefit that our children are getting. So if they want it and they think it's important and they pay their equal share, we'll support it. But if they're not, no, that's not right.
Is there?
It's not fair and it's not right.
I'm sorry. Is there a resource officer at the middle school?
No.
I don't believe so.
No.
Bethany doesn't have a police department. It would have to be Bethany doesn't have a police department, so they couldn't. And I talked to Jim Zioli, and
That's
Orange.
smaller.
Again, I was talking about elementary schools now. Orange has 4 elementary schools, and they don't have a resource. So obviously, they're not going to have 4 police officers assigned to the 4 elementary schools. It'd be a fortune. So, and Beecher Road School. I'm talking about Beecher now, but Beecher Road School, from what I hear, is like a fortress now. You can't get in the building. So it's something we're going to have to talk
There
about.
certainly
because
was.
the police department has
after
issues with
Part of
personnel.
state mandated work to be done, and we did it. Part of the building process, when the building committee, the tail end of that was doing all the upgrades, and they have been done. So there's bulletproof glass. It was all been taken care of. Automatic locks on doors. Everything has been taken care of, Tony. Right?
Yep, that's correct.
So that's all been
Yep.
done. So in terms of security, we've done. Prior to. SRO was put there. It certainly was. It was a terrible thing, and there was a lot of emotion to put policemen there. Now, with all the work that's been done security-wise, is it still necessary to have a full-time officer there? That's that could come up for discussion.
I think I think you would find if we could access, and I might ask Frank Cappiello this question: how many elementary schools have a full-time SRO there? Honestly, I don't know what he does all day long. I mean, we used to have when my kids were there, the officer would go and teach the DARE program, and that was his presence, and then he'd be on the road. But to have him there full-time all day long, I just don't know what he can do all day long. So
I don't know.
it's an awful big building for one guy to patrol anyway. So, but that's something we're going to talk about, I think, with the police department, because again, they have staffing issues as it is. If we could free up 2 guys, saves us, it saves the town a lot of money, and it provides the police department with a relief. So that's going to be a discussion for the police department. And I will bring it up certainly with. You'll let us know if anything develops with Orange and the.
I will, yeah. Okay.
Paul, you have anything?
We don't meet until Monday.
Yep.
So.
All right. No problem. Karen?
Human Services met, and the budget was a major part of that, but overall, they continue to do a marvelous job serving the town, had a lot of holiday baskets and programs, and otherwise, all was well.
Okay. Andrew, nothing?
I was in Nashville.
That's true.
Oh, did you have fun?
Yeah, he sends me pictures of all his meals.
Oh, wait.
Every time I get a picture from Andy, I see pancakes stacked this high.
How nice of you, Andy.
You don't have to have the whole town though.
No, he's trying to make me die. He's showing me these things. 24-ounce sirloin steaks, and I'm getting all these
I
pictures
did want to
from
go out for
Andy.
pancakes.
Yeah.
Maybe we
Sandy.
should have a team trip to.
Yeah, I know.
I don't share anything more with you, Matthew.
So the Board of Ed Finance Committee met on January 9th, and basically the status is pretty similar to last month in terms of the overage for special education is a little over $277,000, and they feel that they can cover about $212,000 of that, leaving an end of the year deficit of $65,000. There potentially are 2 additional students for outplacement this year, and it's not how much it will affect this year's budget. The impact will really be mostly next year.
That's our big Achilles tendon there, isn't it?
Yeah. And that's why, I mean, I really do think somewhere in our discussion about the budgets, we really ought to consider some type of designated fund that could be used for special education, that perhaps we add to each year and use on an as-needed basis to help us with these types of issues. And I think they're trying to find as much money as they can this year, but they don't anticipate they'll be able to find all of it.
So would you? I know they can't really discuss it, but would you imagine these are students who move into the district, or who are there and they just can't handle them anymore? They don't say.
They won't say.
They won't say.
No, they really can't do that because
Yeah.
that breaches confidentiality
Yeah.
for them. And we also did talk about the ECS funding and the cut of $67,000 to Woodbridge. And so while that doesn't really impact their budget, they do report that, it really impacts the town's budget, because the town actually receives that.
But it's safe to say, Matthew, we're a very attractive town based on the quality of care we give. So I mean, there's no secret about that.
Absolutely.
There's no question about that.
Absolutely. And there were no audit findings related to the Woodbridge Board of Education either, and that's contained in this report. The Library Commission met on the 17th, and I think the one area of interest for everybody is the delivery system options. Currently, we loan out 20,000 items per year, and incoming, we have 13,000 items per year. The whole C-card delivery system, there's now a consultant's report that the Connecticut State Library will consider, but there's a strong feeling that this is going to come back to the libraries to fund, and it's not exactly sure how that's going to happen. And one option would be that the Lion group that our library belongs to could start their own system. And I think they need to do some data mining and understand how many of the requests are satisfied within the current Lion system, for how many do they go outside. And then is there a certain number of patrons that use this? So if you were to charge, 50 cents a book or $1 a book, is it spread across, 500 people or 2,000 people in terms of the request? The current Lion director is retiring, so this is coming at a opportune but inopportune time in terms of trying to resolve this issue. And for right now, the state will continue, but it will probably be at a reduced rate. And the question is, can we get some state funds that you could allocate to the different groups that perhaps will take this on in the end? They are going to have a February Food for Fines week, probably. It actually has worked well in the past, and they'll donate the food to the pantry at Human Services, so that people can just return their books, and as long as they're bringing, food
Fine.
that
Food for fines, that's
Food
good.
for fines. Yeah. And the Friends is doing quite well, and that's basically it.
Okay, thank you. Anything else? I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Thanks.
Okay. I'm in a meeting. Interesting.